Today in Minecraft, we are going to be escaping the Bedrock Circle prison. Not only do we have to escape 4 separate rooms starting from the center, but also get to the ground because this prison is way up in the air. This escape is going to be a ton of fun. And I'm just curious, what is your guys' favorite candy? Leave a comment down below. Mine is probably sour gummy worms. But yeah, let's go and jump into it. So yeah, guys, just jumping on into it. When I got into the first room of the Bedrock prison, I was looking around and obviously I noticed that chest way off in the distance, but I was thinking that has got to be a chest for later because there was no way I was gonna reach it just from right here. So yeah, I kept on looking around. There was obviously a hole in the center, and when I opened up the chest, inside of it was an iron ingot and a honey bottle. 2 items that aren't very useful, but I guess they could be used for something later. Then once I turned around, I also saw an item frame with seemingly another item in it. I assume that it kind of looked like a honey bottle, but how is it going to get down there and get back up? Because if I fell into it right now, I would have no block to actually build out of that hole. So I kept that in the back of my mind. Obviously, I would need something to get out of there, but where was I going to get that block? I also found it odd that there were all these windows around. Like, why would there be windows in the room unless there was something hidden on the other side? So I looked around a bunch and I wasn't able to see anything at first, and honestly I was stumped for a little bit, so I decided to jump around and look more on the outside. But as you guys may know, obviously you can change your views, so by going into third person view, it let me look over the edge of the wall and I saw some interesting stuff. For one, there was a chest in the corner over here which I could possibly reach through the window, but I also noticed that there were a bunch of item frames that would be impossible to reach from this room. Those were probably for the next room once I got into it. And then also a chest over in this corner. Now that one, when I tried to reach it, obviously I couldn't jump high enough, so I would need another block in order to get the contents inside of it. So with that being said, I went back to trying to get this chest in the corner. That seemed to be the one I needed to go after first, and it was tough, but if I clicked my mouse button fast enough, I was able to jump and get inside of the chest. So now I had 2 honey bottles, a crafting table, and an iron ingot. Now with the crafting table, I didn't want to lose it, but I was kind of stumped on how else I would be able to get the item inside of this area. So I took a risk and jumped down, knowing that I would be at least able to get out, and I picked up the honey bottle just like that. But once I looked a little bit further, I also saw another item frame, so I broke that item frame as well, and water came out that pushed forward a wood plank block. Now that was perfect because I could place the wood plank block and then get out of the hole, and then I was kind of back to where I started. However, if you remember, there was also that chest over in the corner, and now I have a block in order to actually build and reach that chest. So with that being said, I now had 4 honey bottles and an iron ingot. But as you guys may know, if you have 4 honey bottles, you can actually craft a honey block. Check that out. So yeah, with that honey block, I was able to build on up and escape out of the first room. Now at first I was a bit nervous because you can't really jump off of a honey block high enough to get out of the first room. However, with enough messing around, I realized that if you go to the edge of the honey block, you can actually get the normal jump height, which was a bit of a relief. I was kind of stumped there for a second. But anyways, once I was up here, I took a quick look around. I tried to reach the chest on the very outside. I wasn't quite far enough to reach it. I could maybe run and jump at it, but that would maybe only give me 1 chance unless I could grab some other blocks. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind and looked around a little bit. I didn't see anything, so I decided to just jump down and check out some of the other chests. Obviously, we would break them so that we have some blocks in order to build up out of the second room. And by the way, this second room was 5 blocks tall, so I would need 4 blocks in order to build myself out of that room. So with that being said, I ran around and collected all of the stuff in this room, collected a bunch of the wheat, made sure I didn't miss a single one. I found it odd that it gave me specifically 6 wheat. Obviously, that would have to be used for something later on. There was also this block right here, which is obviously, I forget the exact name, the tilled soil block, something like that. But again, I found it odd that it was that specifically. It wasn't just a dirt block. I figured I might actually have to plant something there, so I couldn't break it quite yet. With that being said, I looked around a bit more and realized there wasn't anything else inside of this room for me to grab. So I figured it would make sense to try and attempt to get the chest on the far outside. So with that being said, I placed a bunch of blocks down. But now that I had a couple of blocks to build up here, I knew that I could attempt to run and jump at the chest. And once I did so, realized that there were 3 bones inside of the chest, which were a few odd items to have in there. But again, I knew that I had to get those out of there. The question is, how was I going to get them before my character fell down and it automatically exited me out of the menu? So this is where it got a bit technical. I somehow needed to grab those fast enough, but how was I going to do that? I kept trying to move my mouse quick. That wasn't going to cut it. There was not enough time to quickly move the mouse around. But I also realized that my mouse was in a very odd spot. It wasn't in the center of the screen. It was off to the side of the chest menu. So then once I opened up another chest, I noticed my mouse was in the same spot, which means any chest you open, your cursor will be in the same spot of where you opened a chest before. Now, with that being said, that would put it in the perfect area for me to quickly grab an item if I shift left click. And when I tried it, I got one of the bones. So now all that was left to do was to try and remember where the different bones were and try and quickly grab them as best as I possibly could. Easier said than done, but I started to get the hang of it. And after enough trial and error, I finally got every single one that was in that chest. So now I had 3 bones, which again are some interesting items. Like the only thing you can really make out of bones is bone meal, which would make sense considering that there was a soil block right there. But obviously I would need seeds in order to actually grow anything. So I decided to look around a bit more, like maybe I missed something on the outside. I spotted a hole in the wall over on this side, but obviously there wasn't anything inside of there. So with that being said, I kept looking around, and over here I spotted what looked like a dispenser. And when I crouched walked to the edge and then jumped up, I was able to open it up and grab some items that were inside, a stick and also some seeds. So now that I had some seeds, I knew that I could grow those with the bones if I converted them over into bone meal. Once I had all of that, I decided to start growing the seeds into wheat. And after putting all the seeds down and growing them, I was able to get a bunch more. Well, again, wheat, 9 to be exact. It also started raining, which wasn't fun, so I decided to clear that. But yeah, with 9 wheat, I realized that I could craft a hay bale. So I went back to my crafting table that luckily was in view of the window next to it and crafted the item that I needed. So now with this, I had the 2 chests, the hay bale, and I could also break the dirt block to get 4 blocks in total, allowing me to build up and cross the wall into the next room. But yeah, I decided to run around a little bit to see if there was anything up here, just in case before I fell down into the next room, and it didn't look like anything was out there besides the 1 chest. I thought about breaking it, but there was no way I was going to be able to reach it. So I just decided to jump on down. Now, the first thing I noticed were some weird signs. Let's have fun. Even in this cell, you can still run free. That was kind of odd. I ran over to this spot and there was a opening above, seemingly where I had to go. And then a sign that says maybe if everyone subscribes, you can reach that. Well, you heard the sign, guys. You gotta subscribe. And be sure to do so. It only takes a second. Also, leave a like on the video while you're at it. But I kept on looking around. There was a bunch of signs around here. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. That was weird. There was also this stream of water, which I jumped into and looked around. Nothing was inside of there. And then round and round we go. Where it'll end, nobody knows. So yeah, a bunch of weird signs. So I started to think what I could do with all this. I also tried to break the dispenser, but once it was broken, it simply got stuck up in the opening, so I wasn't able to reach it. So yeah, at this point, I had to do something with the items that I already had. I had some extra seeds, some item frames, which are always pointless, empty bottles, and an iron ingot still, as well as the stick. So I ran around a bit more, seeing if I forgot any items, and lo and behold, I found a stone block, 1 stone block hidden in an item frame. That was not enough to allow me to build up to anywhere, and even if I did place the block down, if I broke it, I wouldn't be able to get it back. So again, I felt like something had to be with these signs here. I looked at them again and noticed that this one stuck out a bit. It had some weird capitalization that I noticed the first time around. But when I looked at it closer and counted all of the capitals, it was first L, E, V, E, and then also R, which if you put all of those together spells lever, which I could in fact build with the items that I had. And obviously that was a pretty obvious clue. So I decided to build the lever and place it in front of the sign, which at first, after flicking it a few times, I wasn't sure if that actually did anything. But then once I ran around and explored a little bit more, I noticed that it actually dispensed some wood blocks into the water stream. And that was the perfect amount to actually build out of this location and get into what was actually the 4th room. So yeah, this seems to be the final room. There was a dead end over on this side. I ran around a little bit, managed to see that there was a sneaky little wood block. I'll pick that up. I also counted the side to realize that there was, well, I was going to need 3 blocks. There was also this piece of water, or like, you know, I don't know what you would call it, but at the bottom of it was another wood block hidden in an item frame, so now I had 2. I would need 1 more block to get out of here, and oddly enough, there was a sheep. Why would there be a sheep there? So I decided to run to the other side. There was another dead end, but oddly enough, 1 block that was kind of sticking out. I thought that was kind of odd. I tried to see if there was anything above it, and just barely, there was seemingly something there. So I decided to build up with the wood blocks that I had, and lo and behold, there was in fact an iron ingot on the very top. Now that I had 2 iron ingots, I knew that I had to build some shears, and that would allow me to run over to the sheep. And actually, the rain came back as a thunderstorm. That was kind of scary, but I sheared the sheep and got a wool block from him, which was perfectly enough to build out of the 4th room and get on the wall. So I was making awesome progress. Now all I had to do was get to the ground. How was I going to do that? I looked around to see if there was any water I could jump into. At first, I thought there wasn't any at all, but I kept looking carefully, and finally I spotted what looked to be some water. I was hoping it was in fact water, but the way that it was hidden like perfectly in this little square, I knew that it had to be. So with that being said, I decided to go for it all the way down, and splash, I made it to the ground and escaped the circle bedrock prison. Look at it up there. So yes, guys, that is how I escaped it, and that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. If you like this series, be sure to check out my previous one of escaping the nether bedrock prison. That one's awesome as well, and I've got a bunch more of these planned, so be sure to check those out soon. But yeah, guys, I hope you have an awesome day.